Hey Landmarkers, I wanted to show you guys my take on the spiral staircase. I've seen some different versions of this, none that's looked exactly quite like this, although they may be out there. And honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time exploring as much as I have building, but I thought I'd show you kind of the premise that I had behind my design. And the basic idea was to make a quarter of a section, and that's what I consider this to be. And so each one of these has different stone and wood patterns, just to kind of show you what the different elements are, and I'll explain those more in detail. They won't actually look like that when we're done. The first thing I wanted to do is to build a column here in the center, and the first tower that I made was with stairs, was just purely out of voxels, so it looked like it was out of Legos. And with this design, I wanted something that had more curved lines to it, and starting with the column, and then also with the stairs on the outside. So to get the column, you just steal the circle out of a sphere. So I have a sphere here, and I've already highlighted the center section. There should be two sections that should be good to highlight there. You have one of them, and you paste it, and then you put another piece on top of it, and you keep doing that until you build your column. Now I think this one is 7 high, and that's what we would need to build this. Let me go ahead and delete this stuff out here real quick if I can, and I'll show you the next piece. Another important piece of this design is that it utilizes half rounds and quarter rounds, and that's the part that I think is a little unique in what I'm going for. Delete these last pieces out here. And so what I did was I took the largest sphere in the game that you can lay currently, and I placed it down, and I'm going to highlight the center section within it so that I can steal that to eventually get my half round. So bear with me while I create a box for it. See, there. And this always seems to be some of the most time-consuming and or frustrating parts of building, is working with the selection tool when you're working with large shapes, because it seems like I invariably always end up clicking something I'm not supposed to, and I end up being left with a 1x1 voxel, and that's just really frustrating. Look forward to the day when they implement the undo feature to work towards undoing a misselection, and I'm sure that that's coming someday. You can see here I'm struggling a little bit with this. Almost there, and I know it's right because it says it's 24 by 24, and it's lined up on these edges, so everything's good. So copy that, and then I'm going to paste it and get my circle, and then now this I will take half of it to get my my half round, and I have to be careful that I lift this up and that it's only 1 voxel high. So I have that, and that's 12 by 24, so I know that it's the right size. And I'd copy and paste this. And of course none of this stuff would be here, we would only have our column at this point. And so then you paste your half round on the lowest level. And the trickiest part of this is just getting it to line up so that the edge is actually on the edge of the column, and that the center of it lines up with the center of the column. And that's where hopefully undo will be your friend. We all know that undo can be extremely fussy, just like when I undid some stuff over there, that there was some artifacts, so you can have that, and that can be kind of frustrating. But you paste that down, and it looks like everything's square there, so that's all good. So you have your half round. Now with this design, the idea is to go from a half round that's here to the half round that's going to be up here 90 degrees off. And the way that we're going to accomplish this transition is by using quarter rounds. And every other step is a quarter round in this. I didn't use quarter rounds for every step because I got weird visual artifacts and that melding that you get when things are not perfectly lined up with one another. And so to avoid that, I just went ahead and used space, and I think it kind of creates an interesting visual element. So the next thing that we want to do is to get our quarter round piece, and we go over here, and this should be 12 by 12, and we copy and paste this. And what you want to start to do is take this and make sure that this lined up where it would be if it was part of the half round. And I believe that's it right there. Now from here you would go up 2, forward 2, and to the side 2. And if you paste that, then that's exactly where it should be. And you repeat 2 and paste it. And go ahead and do that one more time. And even though that this piece will end up being a half round piece, putting the quarter round will give you a place that you know where it'll make it easier for you to place the half round. That quarter round will be your friend for laying this piece, this half round piece. Well, that was unfortunate. There again, it's the selection tool not being friendly. Alright, see if I can do this quickly and get this half round, and that's 10. So it needs to drag over. Apologize for this, taking longer than it oughta. And that's, yeah, it's 12 by 24. And that's our half round, and it's only one high, so I'm not pulling up the floor with it. Right, yep, so it's only one voxel high. And then come in and paste that. And since we would have our quarter round piece here, pasting that, rotating it, and lining it up should be pretty easy to do because we already have that quarter round. So once it's over top of that quarter round piece and you paste it, then you have your basic quarter section. You would need to add the stairs here as fillers, but if you look at the side, those should kind of have a staircase shape to them, so they should be pretty easy to place. And I didn't let them go all the way in so that you didn't get some of the weird, you know, melding that you get going on here. So I just left them in, but you could, you know, have them go through and you wouldn't have that gap. That's really kind of up to you. So now that you have your quarter section, you have, you know, pretty much everything you need to build the rest of your tower. You're going to highlight this, and on mine I ended up putting in some handrails, and I recommend doing that, but we won't spend time working on that. You can work on that as you please. When you see my finished one, you'll get an idea of what it was that I did. And let's see, lift this up. Let me try this again. Be a little smarter with how I do it. And highlighting this and making sure that you have all the textures painted the way that you want them so that you don't have to repeat the process. You know, the goal will be to get this piece as perfect as you can, and that for it to look like, you know, exactly the way that you want the whole tower to look. So the textures are all painted the way that you want to. If you're going to put handrails into them, you know, what have you. Alright, so that looks like that selection is done correctly. And from here, you copy it. I recommend making a template of it, and then pasting and repeating. And since we have this half round on top, what we've done is we've helped ourselves out to make this easy to keep everything lined up. Because if you put the bottom piece so that it's going to be right on top of that top piece and paste it, you can see you have nice clean lines on your column, and everything is going to be square and just the way that you want it. And you repeat that here, and it looks good, I believe, yeah. And you do it one more time. Here, let me Oh, I don't have that lined up right, do I? I need to rotate that. So I'm not having a hard time visualizing what's going on here. There, let's see. Sorry for this. I'm a little confused with my own pasting. And this is about the hardest part of it. The whole thing is, you know, sometimes this process gets a little janky. Getting it to line up right, and especially when it changed from being smooth to being voxely. And sometimes changing angles. Alright. Yeah, and that's about as difficult as it's going to be. And I don't know that that laid right. Did it? Yep, so it looks like that laid correctly. So that was about as fussy as it could be with us. But even then, it's not too bad. So you have what I consider one section, and then I would then copy and paste this, and keep pasting it as many times as it took to get your full tower. And I'll show you what my looks like right now. My claim actually goes a little bit into the mountain, so I actually started it from within the mountain, and since when you paste, you're not only pasting the positives, but you're pasting the negative space as well, it kind of burrowed its own hole into the mountain. And you can see here the handrails that I've added, which work nicely because they keep you from running off, which would invariably happen. That's with the lag that I get in the game. And you know, the goal is to make the tools work for you, so that you're doing as little work as possible. The work that you're doing is coming in the design, and the time is in the design. But in the actual build, you know, you're building something that's really quite large, and really isn't exactly simplistic. You know, it has some visual interest to it, but that comes from, you know, utilizing the tools correctly and letting them do the work for you. So, and then I build this all the way to the top of my claim. I put a cap on it, and actually the cap probably was just as much work for me and designing and building than the tower, but that's probably a whole other video within itself. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. I haven't did a lot of these videos, so if you liked it, you know, please give a like, and if you have some constructive criticism, I welcome a suggestion. Thanks for your time and for watching the video, guys. Really appreciate it.